everyone. Welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell. We're back again, and our guest today is Ben Stockman. Ben is a theater director, actor, and writer, and he was in the founding class of the New England Youth Theater here in town, where he is also now currently the artistic director. With an MFA in directing from Ohio University, Ben has directed plays in New York City and worked with local theater companies, including the Actors Theater Playhouse, Vermont Theater Company, Apron Theater, Main Street Arts, Vermont Suitcase Company, and of course, NEYT. He also leans into comedy, co-producing a parody talk show podcast and co-creating the award-winning and very funny series Thorn in My Side, which some of you may have caught, performed at the Hooker Dunham Theater. Ben, thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much, Wendy.
Yes.
Thank you for enumerating all of my exploits. It sounds really good when you say it like that.
It's not all of them either. We just did some of them. It's also great to give shout outs to all of the theater that we have locally.
I know, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And shout out especially to the Hooker Dunham Theater, which also produced a play that I directed and was the first theater in Brattleboro that I ever performed in as a child.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's very cool. Now, that goes back to when you were quite young, that first performance.
Yeah. The first performance, I would guess, is probably 1992 or 1993.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was The Emperor and the Nightingale, directed by Carol Macy, who was a local theater practitioner at the time.
Yeah. And so you were pretty young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 7 or 8.
7 or 8. Okay, so then later when you got into middle school, high school age, NEYT was just at the very beginning days. Stephen Stearns had worked like crazy. There are other expressions for how he worked, which was amazing that he created NEYT. And, of course, a huge shout out to Stephen and Peter Gould as well for being part of that incredible endeavor. But because of their hard work, we have an amazing youth theater company in Brattleboro.
Yeah, it's been running for 25 years plus. We're in our 26th year now.
Yeah.
And I started in... I actually really began my work with them in summer camps. They collaborated on a summer camp called Get Thee to the Funnery,
Yes.
which I participated in, I want to say in the summer of 1997 or something. That was my first experience with Shakespeare. That was my first experience working with Peter and Stephen. It sparked a fire in me.
During those early years, there was so much available even at that time for youth in the community between Gould and Stearns and Rosenschantz, Bill Shantz and Gary Rosen doing things, and of course Rosenschantz and Gould and Stern and that lovely juxtaposition. Anyway, so you started really young, but also your dad was involved in theater to a different kind of degree.
Yes, that's true. And my dad was is a theatrical lighting technician and designer. He worked at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst throughout my whole childhood, and that was actually my true earliest exposure to the theatrical arts. Was being in the scene shop and backstage at the Fine Arts Auditorium in UMass Amherst.
That gave you literally an arena in which to sort of realize all about theater.
Looking back, I really took it for granted.
Of course.
I really was exposed to the behind-the-scenes part before I ever really knew about the audience perspective. And in fact, if I recall correctly, my first theater-going experiences were not good. I got really scared and wanted to leave. But behind the scenes was very comfortable.
Yes. Right. Well, it's so interesting to get a behind the scenes look at anything and to know that first.
I think my first play I ever saw was Peter and the Wolf. And there are some kind of like scary parts of that.
Very much so, yeah. You went to neighborhood schoolhouse in town. And then from there, you went to the middle school and then the high school. But you also did some time in the Career Center, which is pretty cool. And that was kind of another formative experience, I think.
Yes, definitely. When I was in high school, the Career Center offered acting classes taught by Bob Kramsky, who worked at the school as an English teacher, and Michelle Moise ran the Center for Digital Art in town and had filmmaking courses.
Yeah.
And in my senior year of high school, I went deep into filmmaking and I adapted one of my favorite short plays by David Ives called Degas c'est moi, about a young man who wakes up one morning and decides that he actually is Edgar Degas that day.
When you were at the Career Center with Michelle Moise, who has quite a reputation, many people who have been through the Career Center with him have spoken about him, and he also has so supported and influenced younger people with acting and filmmaking. So you were getting introduced to it in a different kind of way. At that time, in your teen years, you were also connected to NEYT?
Yes.
Yeah. How did those things work together for you, also in terms of where you were being drawn?
I will say they are connected in that I felt confident and empowered to be the leading vision of a creative project. I felt really confident kind of adapting this script into a screenplay and casting a group of actors who were my friends and peers and community who I established strong bonds of trust with at NEYT. And at NEYT, I found my passion for directing theater as well as acting in it. And that is, I think, a really unique quality of my time there, because Stephen Stearns essentially handed me a photocopied script and invited me to direct his students during the summer in a non-tuition based program. He essentially gave me the key to the space on Main Street and said, "You can direct a play here if you want, and I won't be. I'm busy. I can't be here." But yes, this was The Servant of Two Masters, a commedia dell'arte classic by Carlo Goldoni. And I directed a bunch of friends who were also, not doing anything those 2 weeks during the summer. We had the space to ourselves. I remember typing out a character pronunciation guide for my friends. All of the characters' names are in Italian. That was just for friends and family. It was not open to the public. It was the kind of thing that it feels like is somehow magical, doesn't really happen anymore, that somebody just gives you the reins to something.
Yes.
Or suggests that you are smart enough or capable enough to do something by yourself. And I really didn't have any cause to doubt Stephen or myself. I was like, "Oh, you think I could do this? Okay."
That's so great. And you were 14, right?
Yes.
That's incredible. I think that speaks to so many different things. One of which is that I've always gotten the feeling that the abiding sort of underlying thing with NEYT is to give the students everything they need, everything that's available, and let them take the reins at whatever point, seems appropriate. That is so empowering. I'm sure it was amazing at 14 to do that.
Yes, it was, looking back, it was incredible. In the moment, I was very focused on, the minutia of the play.
Doing the job,
yeah,
right?
doing the job.
Yeah.
But now looking back, I think it really is an incredible thing, and the trust that my friends had in me, that this would not be a disaster or a waste of their valuable summer free time. Well, that's remarkable as well, I think.
There was something, obviously, even at that time about directing that really kind of snagged you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I was thinking about it in terms of directing and acting, and it seems like you've done more directorially than you have in terms of acting.
It's certainly where I feel my creative tendencies are strongest.
Yeah.
I discovered theater through acting, and for a while thought that was the only way to interact with it, even though my father obviously was a lighting designer. And then I kind of, got to step back and think of other ways to get involved. And more what I found I really loved was the directorial kind of dual art of communication and observation. Communication being how you frame an idea to a collaborator, the collaborator who is going to execute the idea, not you.
Yes.
So therefore, it is incumbent on you to be as precise as possible.
Yeah.
And observation being, I think the kind of core art of the theater artist is just observation of human behavior and true listening, being able to imagine what it's like to be somebody else and what their motivations and wants and needs are.
Yes, I would imagine being a director, you are multitasking all the time, right? You're thinking about how that person entered, from which side, and how they're presented, and how the costume is looking, and lighting, et cetera, like every aspect.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll tell you also, speaking as a neurodivergent person with attention deficit disorder, it's the perfect bowl of little problems that come at you from a million sides, and that you can give your hyper focus to for a small amount of time, and then go back and forth, throughout the process and within the rehearsal room as well.
That's fascinating. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you thrive in that kind of energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think actors do too. I see it all the time in my students. It's so hard to get them to listen to you speaking to them all as a group. But then when they're all on stage and an entire room of people is all paying attention to them, then they are like lasers. They are 100% locked in.
I would think your job would be really, really fulfilling and satisfying.
You know what? You'd be right.
And exciting.
At least I find it to be so.
Yeah. You went to Ohio University in the MFA program, and you did a bunch of schooling before you have come back to Brattleboro. What kinds of things did you glean from doing, for instance, an MFA program? Is it just honing your skills, or did it open things up for you in any particular way?
I discovered in graduate school a passion for new play development. Up until that point, I had mostly been directing scripts that I enjoyed, that I thought had, some oomph to them and had some prestige to them, had names behind them. And there is a playwriting program at Ohio University, and collaborating with students from that program really opened up a new way of working for me, one that kind of ushers a new play into existence. And you have to be really gentle with it and make sure that your collaborators are treating it with the care that it deserves.
Yeah. Of course, also you've done a lot of classic plays.
Yes.
Yeah. The whole gamut.
Yeah.
Any particular genre that you like more than another?
Oh, I think I have to say firmly no. Genre, I really like to kind of go back and forth between. I find a lot of fun in being able to go into different genres, but there's a through line of the types of plays that I like, and those are plays with humor, plays that provide some level of emotional catharsis. And those two elements side by side, kind of no matter what the genre, if it has those qualities, then I'm interested.
Yes. And of course, it's the juxtaposition of those things that,
Yes, and the one that kind of like leads towards the other. I really feel firmly that when you evoke laughter in your audience, you open them up to feel things more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's such a great back and forth between the audience and the actor and direct and everybody, right? You know they're responding to it.
I worked at the Bird's Nest at Early Education Services the year after I dropped out of my first year of undergrad.
And so you came back and you worked there with preschoolers. Now your mom is an educator, right? I just thought that was so interesting that you got another different little piece of working with kids.
Yeah. And I went to school for education for a couple years as well. You know, that was really in the midst of the No Child Left Behind era. And it was pretty disillusioning to be a teacher in training at that time. And, you know, I really adore working with kids. I love educational theory. And I'm glad that my career didn't lead me into a classroom teaching job. I much prefer the direction that I've gone.
Yeah, a lot of freedom and creativity, yeah. So Ben, after you get your MFA, you go to New York City and you work there for a while in different productions.
A little while, yeah. Between my graduation from Ohio University and the rise of COVID-19. So yeah, about a year and a half in New York, directing lots of short new plays, directing staged readings and workshops, assistant directing at, I think, weren't many institutions that I broke into. I assistant directed at La Mama Experimental Theater. It was very nose to the grindstone, very throw yourself out there, work with whoever you possibly can, because who knows who. I felt very self-focused. It was difficult to create community in the theater scene in New York.
Yeah.
It felt as though everybody belonged to a club that you were trying desperately to get in. Yeah. And deep down, you know that they are also feeling that way, and nobody really feels like they belong.
Wow.
That was my experience.
Yeah.
I'll speak only for myself. But in retrospect, when I think about the theater I was doing there and the theater that I'm creating now, I have no regrets and I don't miss it.
And so the pandemic happens and you came back to Brattleboro.
Yes. Pandemic happens, and crucially, who knows who will ever do theater again, and when.
Yes.
So I felt as though sticking around New York to try and further my career there was not really the thing to do. I came back here, and the first thing I started doing was my friends and I would get on Zoom together and play Jeopardy. We would, there are archives of old Jeopardy games that you can get, and we would just play together. And then we'd start writing our own Jeopardy questions for each other. And one of my friends at the time, his name is Shannon Ward, during the tail end of the pandemic, she took over management of the Hooker Dunham Theater, where I had been in my first play ever. She and another friend had decided, we're going to do Jeopardy night at Hooker Dunham. We're just going to start doing that. And I came to them independently and said, I have an idea for a game show. It's different every time, and it's not for smart people.
It's not for smart people.
No, you don't have to be smart or knowledgeable to be successful at it. That's how Thorn in My Side was born. Shannon Ward and Colin Hinckley, and then later Jay Gelter and Jesse Tidd and I. We created this silly game show where every single episode we'd have to come up with brand new games, and only a loose theme held games together. But it was really goofy. It was irreverent. It felt like exactly the kind of stupid humor that I wanted to experience when I was feeling sad during the pandemic.
During the pandemic, yes. You also did this podcast called Real People with Jay and Ben, right?
Yes, that was before grad school. That was for Brattleboro Community Radio. We did that for a year in 2014 into 2015, and that was a essentially, Wendy.
What we're doing.
It was what we're doing. It was one of us being you and the other one of us pretending to be a really weird character that we had made up. Or one of our friends coming on and doing that.
I love that. I love it because we have talked about calling this Between Four Ficus.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's just like that show, that Zach Galifianakis show.
Yes. Well, just keep in mind, Ben, just saying that we have a podcast studio that is almost built over here, and it would be fun. Well, actually, you could use my set.
Oh my gosh.
And do that. That would be fun to do a parody.
Yes. I'd love that.
Yeah. Keep that in mind. Keep it in your back pocket because I think it'd be fun to do.
Would you come on and do a fake character?
Let's talk after the show. We've got so many talented people in this community that would have a real blast with that.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be really fun.
I remember one of my favorite characters that I played on that show was the Brattleboro party bus driver who secretly was also the school bus driver who simply converted the school bus into a party bus at night.
That's great. That's a great idea. Yes. Actually, that is a great idea.
It's not a bad idea. I've had some solid business ideas for improvisational characters.
Definitely. You grew up in Brattleboro. You were very involved in so many things. And then, like a lot of folks, you've come back to Brattleboro. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about the differences you see, not so much a now and then thing, but just how you're feeling about the community and your place in it now.
Well, I think my place in Brattleboro really ties into my relationship with New England Youth Theater. And my relationship with youth organizations in Brattleboro.
Yes.
I worked for the Boys and Girls Club for a few years before being hired in my current position. And I remember very vividly what it was like to be a kid in Brattleboro after school and be able to kind of do my thing unsupervised. I reminisce a lot with some of the alumni who are on my staff right now about how when we were kids on Main Street we would, if we weren't in a scene, we'd just wander out the door and go to Hotel Pharmacy or Bruegger's and get some food and just be unsupervised around town. And now I definitely feel, as the leader of a youth organization, way more keyed into exactly what the kids are doing at all times. I have worked at two different places, two different youth organizations now on Flat Street in Brattleboro, which is no longer really the safest place for kids to wander around unsupervised. And I think what I see as my role in Brattleboro right now is ensuring that the youth of this town are continuing to thrive and continuing to have experiences like the one I had directing that play, that fill them with the confidence they need to be thriving members of society. I see a lot of stuff that if I was a kid, I think would make me feel nervous and scared to be alive. I know listening to current events, paying attention to what's going on in the world right now, would have been really difficult for me to take in as a kid. I think, until 9/11, I was living in a kind of weird little bliss world as a kid where I could just fully ignore what was happening outside of my own realm. And kids today can't do that. So what we provide at NEYT is a way for youth to collaborate on a shared goal that is not competitive. Everybody wants to put on a good show and share important stories with their community and make their community laugh and feel things. And in doing so, that creates incredible bonds of trust between kids. I think the most alarming statistic I was exposed to working in the Boys and Girls Club was through measuring survey data, finding that while kids are very likely to trust the adults in their lives, right now they're extremely unlikely to trust other kids in their lives. And I think that's a symptom of a generation that had to be isolated for a number of years. And, one that is increasingly, allowed to kind of distance themselves through technology. And at NEYT, kids come together in the same space. They build trust by being on the same team of collaborators. They have to depend on each other on stage to make plays happen, and they create these incredible experiences for themselves and their families and the community.
And they form their own community too, which is just such a wonderful thing.
Yes, and the friends I've made at NEYT are the friends that I still have today, and the alumni of New England Youth Theater are an incredibly devoted group.
Ben, talking about NEYT and where it is situated and your experience as a kid as well. I know that Stacey Blackadar at Boys and Girls Club is talking about creating a youth corridor, and they've taken over the Preston lot at various times of the year to have a youth sort of the gallery walk kind of feel.
It's called Teen Street.
Teen Street, right, yes. And that is so great, like to plant that seed from the New England Youth Theater down to Main Street. Being filled with kids, and doing things was just so heartening to hear about. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, Teen Street is great. Yeah, I've been there. Our students sung in like band performances there. Yeah,
we've got so many things that are balancing each other out in a way and like moving forward in that way. During the pandemic years, which we just talked about, there seemed to be at NEYT, from what you've said and from what I've heard, on with the show. Like, let's continue as best we can in whatever way we can do that. And you did have, for instance, alumni coming back to do things, to do different productions, mostly outside.
Right.
Again, I just thought that was just such a wonderful thing. It also speaks to the camaraderie and the community that you created during those earlier years.
Yeah. Alumni have traditionally come back a lot to teach at NEYT during the summers. I was not on staff during the pandemic, but they pivoted to filmmaking camps for a number of years. One of those films that they made, an adaptation of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing,
Very cool.
directed by by Kaylin and Aja Selbach.
Oh, the Broad
Yeah,
Brothers.
the Broad Brothers,
The Broad
yes.
Brothers, yes. They're some pretty great alumni.
Yeah.
Ben, this has been really wonderful.
No, thank you so much, Wendy.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we will keep in mind, doing
A podcast? Yes.
something.
Please.
Something.
Reach out to me.
Yeah, I think you'd be a lot of fun because these ficus are just sitting here waiting, waiting for a job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to all of you for being with us today for a really fun show with Ben Stockman. Keep your eye on NEYT. It is really one of the most amazing organizations that we have in town, and we have a lot of those. And so especially for youth, go to performances. They're always wonderful. They're always remarkable in their creativity and what they bring to the audience and to the community. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.